One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making when it comes to learning and improvement is they will pick the wrong champions to supplement their learning. For example, I might see somebody in silver who's saying they are trying to improve their basic lane mechanics, but then this player will lock in something like Yasuo, something so mechanically demanding that you're not actually able to focus on these basic lane mechanics and improve them. Today we're going to be going over what you should be playing specifically in each and every elo for top lane in order to improve those mechanics and get out of that elo. These picks are going to help you focus on one specific thing that is very important for escaping this specific elo. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. Now, starting off right away in Iron and Bronze elos. These two elos suffer from mostly the same issues, so you can play the same champions in order to learn the mechanics you need to learn and get out of these elos. Now, in Iron and Bronze, most players don't have a basic understanding of the game yet. They might not know what each and every champion does, and they don't really know what they should be focusing on. Now, for Iron and Bronze, my recommended top laners for you are Garen and Nasus. The best way to get out of Iron and Bronze is just to farm well, get yourself gold, and push towers. As a top laner in this elo, most of the time you're going to be playing against players that don't know how to farm properly, and you're not going to receive nearly as much pressure, meaning if you push towers, people aren't really going to respond to it. With Garen, it's really easy to farm because all you need to do is press E and walk into the enemy minion wave and you will kill it. Now, earlier on into the game on Garen, you are going to want to be focusing on last hitting creeps, whether it's with your normal autos or with your Q, because your E isn't going to fully clear a wave yet. On Nasus, you're going to want to look to use your Q to last hit any creeps anytime it is off cooldown. Every time you successfully do this, your Q is going to get stronger, making it easier to last hit the next creep. Your Q stacks infinitely like this, and the better you're able to stack on Nasus, the more success you're going to see with him. These two champions are very mechanically simple. They don't have any skill shots, and all they require is for you to use your basic attacks and getting into melee range. Farming is relatively easy on these champions compared to other top laners, so if you are able to use them, you're likely going to be getting a lot more CS and therefore gold than you normally would on other champions. You're also going to be getting extra gold for any towers that you take, and these champions do take towers pretty well for a top laner. Both of these champions do have really good early on sustain, so if you do make a mistake early, you're able to heal it back up later as the lane goes on. Again, you mainly want to be focusing on last hitting creeps here and not trading with the enemy laner. Alright, moving our way to Silver and Gold elo. Again, these elos suffer from mainly the same thing. Now, once you get to Silver and Gold elo, most of the time people want to focus on mechanics, but again, it is just not the time to focus on mechanics. Specifically, there are other things that Silver and Gold players suffer from more. Now, the biggest issue that I see in Silver and Gold is Silver and Gold players don't quite understand wave management yet, and they don't understand trade patterns either, meaning they can take a very heavy, poor trade and be forced out of the lane. The two champions that I recommend in order to amend these two things are Darius and Cho'Gath. Now, you can also keep using Garen and Nasus in these elos, but Cho and Darius are two champions that you should be looking to add to your pool once you do get in these elos. Both of these champions have really healthy trade patterns. They have good ways to sustain throughout a fight and throughout the laning phase. Darius, every time you hit the outside of your Q on a champion, you're going to be healing a lot of health. You're also going to be healing a lot of damage, and it's likely that the enemy champion is just not going to be able to out-trade you if this is the case. Cho'Gath, on the other hand, has some of the best sustain in the entire game. Every time that he last hit a minion, he gets health. This means that once you have learned how to CS properly by playing through Bronze and Iron Elos, you're going to be unlocking that potential to sustain through a fight, especially after a heavy trade. Now these champions are a little bit harder to play than Garen and Nasus, but honestly there isn't anything that's all too mechanically demanding for either of them. The big thing with Cho'Gath and Darius is they are both good at diving and running people down. This is because their ultimates do so much damage that if somebody gets below half HP, they're very easy for you to dive, or if they misstep in the lane, you're probably going to be able to kill them. In order to abuse this though, you're going to have to start to utilize lane management. For example, if you chunk out the enemy laner and they're no longer able to take a 1v1 against you, then you can start a freeze, which will force them into a very, very bad situation in which they're not going to be able to farm. On the other hand, if you get them low enough, you can start a slow push, in which case you'll be able to dive as soon as your minions crash into the enemy tower. In order to start a freeze, you need to make sure that the enemy wave has 3 more minions than you have. In order to start a slow push, it's exactly the opposite. Now you do need to understand wave management for every single champion in the top lane, but these champions are some of the easiest to start learning it on. Now moving our way up into Platinum Elo. This is the Elo where mechanics finally start to matter a lot. Wave management is still very, very important here, and you should still be looking to refine your wave management, but mechanics are going to start to matter just as much. Now you do have a few options here. In order to climb to Diamond, you could go the mechanics route, or you could go the route that completely forgoes mechanics whatsoever. If you want to completely forgo mechanics, I would highly recommend continuing to play Garen, Nasus, Cho'Gath, Darius, these very simple champions, and perfecting your wave management skills. These champions aren't very flashy, but if you are able to just play the game patiently and properly, you're going to be able to slowly strangle the enemy champion out and climb through this. Now on the other hand, you can go the flashy mechanical route. Now since you are just starting to focus on mechanics here, I do not recommend playing something insanely hard like Riven or Yasuo. Simple combo reliant champions like Renekton are a great pickup in this elo, but if ability based champions are not for you, then you can also go the auto attack based route with champions like Jax and Tryndamere. With auto attack based champions, you're most likely going to be looking to split push, whereas with combo reliant champions, you're more likely going to want to group. Both of these picks are going to require you to improve your mechanics. Now with Jax and Tryndamere, you're going to have to learn how to cancel the back end of your auto attack animation, whether it's through a movement command or your mobility spells. With a combo reliant champion like Renekton, you're going to have to learn what order to use your abilities in. Both of these things are pretty easy to do with some practice, and they shouldn't be all too difficult for you. With these champions, I recommend split pushing and taking as many 1v1s as possible, because taking 1v1s and constantly fighting is the best way to improve your mechanics. This is what is called limit testing, and if done properly, will result in you getting better pretty quickly. What you don't want to be doing is running into people over and over and over again, even if you know you can't win the fight. That is not limit testing, that is inting. If you think the fight is going to be close or clearly in your favor, then feel free to take that fight, but if you know you're going to lose it, don't just run in and die. This is the best way to improve your mechanics that I know of, aside from just sitting in practice tool and practicing your combos over and over and over again on a practice dummy. Now, finally, we're going to be getting into Diamond, and Diamond does have quite a few things that you need to be improving on in order to climb out of. The biggest 3 things, however, are going to be map awareness, which doesn't require any specific champions, playing the pick and ban phase, and once again, mechanics. Let's start with mechanics because it is the easiest to explain. Once you get into Diamond, your mechanics are already likely pretty good. Now, if you decide not to go the mechanical route, then your map awareness is already likely pretty good, your wave management is also likely very good, and you're just going to have to work on mechanics from this point. You'll be much more well-rounded as a top laner if you decide not to go the mechanical route, but the downside is you're going to have to put in a lot more work from this point forward because mechanics are the hardest thing to develop. Now, while developing your mechanics in Diamond, you might as well play the hardest champion that you are comfortable playing. This is because in order to climb out of Diamond into Master, Grandmaster, and Challenger tiers, you need to be good at the game mechanically. There is just no way around it at this point. I highly recommend that you pick up a champion like Riven, Irelia, or Yasuo because these champions are going to make the full usage of your APM, your actions per minute, in which case you're going to be able to develop that and push it even further. If you are able to play these 3 champions, then likely you're going to be able to play pretty much anything when it comes to top lane, as long as you give it a little bit of practice. It won't be a question of your mechanics anymore, it'll be a question of, do I know what this champion does in terms of damage, do I know how to build them, what runes to take, and that sort of thing. By practicing the most mechanically difficult champions, you're going to be getting the most out of that practice. Now, this is not to say that you can't get mechanically better by practicing other champions. You can, it's just not going to be as effective. That's about all that I have for you guys today on what champions you should be playing in each specific elo to take your play to the next level. If you enjoy our videos and you haven't already, make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by Challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, then make sure to sign up using the link in the description below. As always, I'm Panther, I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.